Chicago about to go bankrupt? People keep throwing the word around, but here's the bigger question. Is being $1 billion in the hole a year a warning sign? If not, what is? Let's be honest. Does 1 billion even sound real to people anymore? 1 billion may not be a large sum to the federal government, but it's a lot to a city. We hear this kind of language all the time. People downplaying problems, saying everything is fine because nothing has collapsed yet. But that's not how real problems work. They build quietly, gradually, until one day everyone pretends to be surprised. So instead of talking in theory, let's look at something real, and that is the third largest city in the U.S., Chicago. Before the budget is even finalized, Chicago is looking at about $1 billion gap it has to figure out how to close. That means the city is projected to spend about $1 billion more than it brings in, more than it has. And this isn't one bad decision, it's multiple pressures stacking up over time. Pensions, debt, giveaways, rising costs. This is what long-term financial stress actually looks like. Think about it like this. If you're short a little, you can adjust. If you're short a lot, you've got some serious problems. But what if you're short 1 billion year after year? That's not a rough patch. That's a pattern and a problem. And you think the $1 billion gap is the whole story? It's not. Chicago isn't just dealing with short-term problem. It's carrying tens of billions in long-term obligations that it has no idea how it's going to fund or pay for. You've got traditional debt, bonds, and borrowing. The Wall Street Journal says it's about $35 to $40 billion. And then you've got pension promises that aren't fully funded. That's about 36 billion in unfunded pension obligations. Unfunded means they have an obligation to pay it, but there's no funds to put away to pay it. Put it together and you're looking at roughly 70 to 80 billion in total obligations over time. Now, to be fair, this isn't all due tomorrow. It's spread over years. But each year, more and more becomes due, and the figure isn't going down. It just keeps rising. But the pressure is showing up right now through taxes, budget gaps, and tough financial decisions. So when people focus in on just the 1 billion gap, they're only looking at the surface. So what can a city do that's in that position? They only have about 3 choices. They can raise taxes, cut services, or borrow more money. But borrowing doesn't fix anything. It just pushes the problem into the future. And there's the problem nobody likes to talk about. When governments run into financial problems, they don't really like to fix them. They shift them. The politicians always hope the next person will have to fix it. They just want to get past their years in office. Even with higher taxes, fees, or long-term debt, the costs don't disappear. Each time the politicians see extra dollars come into the city's coffers, they also find an extra way to spend it instead of paying off debt. Paying off debt doesn't get them elected, but more giveaways do. So it just moves on and eventually to you. And this is where people start asking, who's actually watching the money? They have auditors, inspectors, committees. But here's the reality. Their job is mostly to review what's already happened, what's already been spent, not stop it before it does. They can point out what went wrong. They can't undo it. So instead of preventing problems, a lot of the time the system is just documenting them. And that's where the real debate begins. At what point do we stop calling something manageable and start recognizing the risk? Because when you're dealing with billion-dollar gaps and long-term debt, that's not small anymore. What most people don't realize is about 40% of Chicago's budget goes to just interest on the debt and pension payments. If the debt keeps rising, so will the percentage of the debt in the budget rise. Right now, Chicago spends about 16 to 70% of its entire budget just paying off past debt and interest. Before the city funds any services, about 1 out of every $6 is already committed to debt payments. This is the part people miss. Serious problems don't start when everything collapses. They start with warning signs, patterns, pressure building over time. Maybe they're just ignoring the warning signs until they hit a tipping point. As of April 2024, about $300 million had been spent on migrants in Chicago, and they expected another $321 million by the end of the year. News reports stated almost 40,000 migrants had made their way to Chicago. I wonder why. Could it be the free housing, the free food, the free medical care, free schools for the children, etc., etc., etc.? How much does all that cost? How does that fit into the 1 billion deficit? Well, it's over half the deficit, possibly most of it. And that's not even looking at all the fraud that's going on. Chicago, wake up. Do you want police protection? Do you want fire protection? City workers, do you want to keep your pension? If the city files bankruptcy, you don't know what you're going to end up with. Possibly half pensions, reduced police and fire. What will happen to your schools? You better start thinking about the future. Stop the socialist, communist governing and make them stop wasting your money. As Margaret Thatcher would say, as of now, you've run out of other people's money. Remember, you get what you vote for. Thanks for listening. Give me your take in the comments. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. This is Tim from Wise Old Farts, signing off.